Good evening, students. This is the third lecture of this chapter, life process. Today our main topic is transportation. In the previous lesson we have covered nutrition and respiration, and this is the third topic of this chapter, that is transportation. Clear? So before going into transportation, we should know what is transportation, what actually transportation is. So transportation is the transport system, that is the study of system which helps to transport things inside our body. It is the system which helps to transport things in our body. Now what is things? Suppose we are taking food. The food first goes to our stomach. Then from stomach it goes to intestine, and from intestine it goes to different parts of our body. For example, like it goes to brains, or it goes to muscles, it goes to kidneys and various other body parts. So how this transportation occurs, how the food goes to different parts of our body. So these things we will know in transportation. The food goes by a system, a specific system, that is known as transportation. For example, we are taking in oxygen and we are releasing carbon dioxide. When we are taking in oxygen from the atmosphere, the oxygen first goes to our lungs, and from lungs it mixes with the blood and flows through the different body parts. So how oxygen we are taking in, that flows to our different body parts. So that is also because of transportation. Clear? So it is a system which helps to transport things in our body. Things means it can be food, it can be oxygen. Clear? So it is a system which helps to transport all these things to our body. So it is the system is known as transportation. Clear? So which is main responsible for this transportation? The main thing responsible for this transportation is blood. Blood is main responsible for this transportation, because blood flows to every corner of our body. Blood flows through every corner of our body. That means blood has total reach all over our body, so that it can transport food or oxygen to various part of our body. That is main responsible is blood due for this transportation system. Clear? Now there are two types of transportation. There are two types of transportation. Two types of transportation. Clear? Number one is transportation in plant, and other is transportation in animal. This include transportation in plant and transportation in animal, and the one transportation is in human beings. That is special topic, transportation in human beings. I will discuss that transportation in human beings in the next session. That means it is a lecture part 1, and that will be discussed, that is transportation in human beings will be discussed in lecture 4 also, and that is part 2 of the lecture 4. Clear? So here is only two topic, transportation in plant and transportation in animal. So transportation in plant occur in two ways. One is ascent of sap, that is water plus minerals, and number 2 is translocation. Clear? And transportation in animal, it is also occur in two ways. That is, one is blood circulatory system, and the another one is lymphatic system. So transportation there is two part. One is transportation in plant, and another one is transportation in animal. Transportation in plant, there are two ways. Transportation in plant, one is ascent of sap, that is water plus minerals, and one is translocation. Now coming to transportation in plant, the plant require mainly two things. Only water and minerals and food. There are two things mainly, water and minerals, and they prepare food. Clear? So water and minerals water ascent of sap. What is ascent of sap? The ascent of sap is the upward movement of water and minerals. It is the upward movement of water and minerals. Now plants absorb water and minerals from the soil. Plants absorb, we all know that plant absorb water and minerals from the soil with the help of roots. Now these water and minerals are to be flowed within the plant. Now water and minerals are to be flowed within the plant. Clear? So there is a upward movement from the root of the plants to the crown of the plants. There should be upward movement of the water and minerals from the root of the plant, from the crown of the plant. That means the water and minerals that plants are absorbed needs to be transported through the whole plant. So the pressure or the flow at which water and minerals are transported within the plants is known as ascent of sap. The pressure or flow, that is the upward flow basically from the root of the plant to the upper part of the plant, that is crown of the plant, that is known as ascent of sap. That upward movement will be known as ascent of sap. Clear? So ascent of sap is mainly upward movement of water and minerals. Upward movement of water and minerals. This is ascent of sap. Clear? There is a special tissue for this movement. You have already studied in class 9. There is a special tissue for this movement. Special tissue for this movement. That is, they are known as xylem. They are known as xylem. Xylem tissue. These tissues are mainly responsible for this movement, for this upward movement, that is for ascent of sap. Clear? Now number 2 is translocation. Translocation, what is translocation? Translocation is related to food. That means food is prepared in the leaf. We know that the leaf is the kitchen of a tree. There is food prepared on the leaves. Now this food also need to be transported. This food is also need to be transported like water and minerals. So food is transported from leaves to all parts of the plant. Clear? So this is known as translocation. The system at which, or the system by which food is transported from leaves to different parts of the plant. It is known as translocation. So likewise, xylem tissue, there is also a special tissue related to this translocation, that is transfer of food or transport of food. Clear? The tissue is known as phloem. The tissue is known as phloem. Clear? The tissue is known as phloem. So this is transportation in plant. One is ascent of sap, that is water plus minerals. That is transportation of water and minerals, or upward movement of water and minerals, which is known as ascent of sap. And the another one is translocation, that is transportation of food. Actually transportation is transfer. Transportation actually generally means transfer, that is transportation of food from leaves of the plant to the all parts of the plant. Tissue responsible is phloem tissue. So this is transportation in plant. Now coming to transportation in animal, there are two part transportation animal. One is blood circulatory system and another one is lymphatic system. So blood circulatory system is most important between these two, and another one is lymphatic system. So this is transportation in animal. Now transportation in animal, there are also the transportation animal. This can be subdivided by two part. Transportation in animal, this can also be classified as two parts. One is blood circulatory system, blood circulatory system, and the another one is lymphatic system. Now blood circulatory system, there are three parts in blood circulatory system. There is three parts. One is blood, number 2 is blood vessels, number 1 blood, number 2 blood vessels, and number 3 most important, that is heart. This is the most important among blood circulatory system: blood vessels, and number 3 heart. And coming to lymphatic system, this is also, there are three parts in lymphatic system. Number 1 is lymph, number 2 is lymph vessels, and number 3 is lymph nodes. Number 1 is lymph, number 2 lymph vessels, and number 3 is lymph nodes. This constitute of lymphatic system. Now what is vessels? What is vessels? Vessels means, vessels are like water pipes. Vessels are like water pipes. For example, like water is coming to our house, through some corporation or through somewhere. How it comes? It comes through water pipes. So vessels are like water pipe. Vessels are like water pipe. It composed of various tissues. Clear? So transportation in animals, there are two parts. One is blood circulatory system. It constitutes of blood vessels, heart, and lymphatic system. It constitutes lymph vessels, and lymph nodes. Now this is the most important among blood circulatory system, and then blood vessels. What are blood vessels? The blood flows through blood vessels. Blood vessels are like water pipes. Blood vessels are like water pipes through which blood flows. Clear? And heart, this is the controlling station or pumping station. It controls the flow of blood. Clear? It controls the flow of blood. So these three we will study in detail in human transportation system. These three we will study, especially this heart. There are four subdivided topic, constitute these three: blood vessels, and heart. This constitute the human transportation system. Human transportation system. This is the special topic which will be discussed in the part 2 of this lecture. Clear? Now the next part, blood. This is the most important. Now blood. Clear? So let's erase it first. Note it down carefully. I will erase because space is not much. Next, if we write blood, so this is blood. There are three important topic in blood. It can be subdivided as number 1, plasma. It contains plasma, and number 2, it contains plasma, and number 2, it contains blood cells. Okay, then amount of water present in plasma, almost amount of water is 50 to 60%, and blood cell contains 45 to 40%. This is percentage of water. Clear? Plasma contains 50 to 60% of water, and blood cells contain 40 to 45% of water. Clear? Now what is the function of plasma? What is the function of plasma? The function of plasma is it is a fluid portion. It is a fluid portion, and it contains almost 91 to 92% of albumin, water, and globulin. So its main function is it is a fluid portion. It is a fluid portion. Mainly it is a fluid portion. Fluid portion blood contains 91 to 90% of water. Not only water only, it contains 91 to 20% of water plus albumin, globulin. 91 to 90% of water, albumin, globulin, protein, and hormones. Protein, hormones, and clotting factors. So plasma, it is a fluid portion of blood. It contains 91 to 92% of water, albumin, globulin, protein, hormones, and clotting factors. Next, coming to blood cells. It can be divided into three parts. It can also be divided into three parts. One is RBC, one is WBC, and number 3 is platelets. RBC stands for red blood corpuscle. Red blood corpuscle. WBC stands for white blood corpuscle. This is the full form of RBC and WBC. Clear? Now, why it is called as red? Why RBC is red blood corpuscle? Because blood contains a red pigment. Blood contains a red pigment which is known as hemoglobin. Blood contains a red pigment which is known as hemoglobin. Due to this reason, RBC looks red in color. Due to this pigment or hemoglobin, it looks red in color. Now, hemoglobin has a high affinity. Hemoglobin has a high affinity for oxygen. Hemoglobin has a high affinity for oxygen. That means the main function of RBC is to transport oxygen. The main function of RBC is to transport oxygen because RBC contains a red pigment known as hemoglobin, and hemoglobin has a high affinity for oxygen. It can absorb oxygen. It is a high affinity for oxygen. Clear? So, the main function of RBC is to transport oxygen. Transport oxygen from lungs to different parts of the body and transport carbon dioxide back to the lungs. Clear? So, main function of RBC is to transport oxygen from lungs to various body parts and return carbon dioxide back to lungs. Transport oxygen from lungs to various body parts or various tissues and return carbon dioxide back to lungs. Clear? It is the function of RBC. Next, function of WBC, that is white blood corpuscle. What is the function of WBC or white blood corpuscle? WBC protect against us many diseases. It is the protective tissue. WBC is the protective tissue. It mainly protects us from various diseases. So, its function is protect from various diseases. And lastly, platelets. What is the function of platelets? The function of platelet is blood clotting. Blood clotting, that means blood clotting. Blood clot, that means when its main function is to clot the blood. That means it will clot your blood within 1 or 2 minutes. Clear? It is the function. Main function is to clot blood. There is a vitamin related to this blood clot, vitamin K. It is main responsible for the clot of blood, vitamin K. It is in platelets, due to which platelets clot your blood. Clear? So, this is the function of RBC, WBC and platelets. Next, blood, there are total 2 parts, plasma and blood cells. Function of plasma, function of blood cells divided into 3 parts, WBC, RBC and platelets, and there 3, the function of the separately I have already told. Next, what is the function of blood? What is the function of blood? If question is what is the function of blood? What is the function of blood? See, the function of RBC, function of WBC and the function of platelet, these 3, RBC, WBC, platelet or even plasma, this is the blood part. Clear? So, function of blood, if question is asked function of blood, we can write these functions. We can write this because this is the function of RBC, which is a part of blood. Function of WBC, it is also part of the blood. Platelet, which is also a part of the blood. That means if question is asked what is the function of blood, we can write this. That means first function of blood will be transport of oxygen from lungs to various body part, protect from various diseases. Platelets from blood helps blood clotting. So, these will be the function of blood. So, the first function will be transportation of oxygen from lungs to tissues. Transportation of oxygen from lungs to tissues. Number 2, transportation of carbon dioxide from tissues to lungs. Next, transportation of food. Food is also transported. Transportation of food from small intestine. Transportation of food from small intestine to the tissue, actually transportation of digested food, the food we get, the food that get digested, it transport from small tissue to the small intestine to the tissue. What are the function? Formation of clot from platelet. Formation of clot, it main function, this is blood platelet. Clear? There is formation of blood clot. It is also function of platelet, that is function of blood, that is formation of clots to prevent loss of blood. To prevent loss of blood, that is excess blood, excess loss of blood can be prevented. Excess loss of blood can be prevented by this blood clotting, that it is the function of platelet. There is formation of clots to prevent loss of blood. Clear? So these are the functions. There is one more function, that is in case of excretory system, there is excretory material, it also gets transport to kidneys. Our excretory material, that is waste material that also get transported from tissue to the kidneys. So it is also function that we can write, that is transportation of waste material or excretory material. Transportation of waste material or excretory material from tissue to kidneys. From tissue to kidneys. From tissue to kidneys. So these are the main functions of blood. Clear? These are the main functions of blood. Now how blood clot occurs. Now blood clot we will study. How blood clot is occurs. Now blood clot. Now the tissue which is infected, blood clot, the tissue which is infected, blood platelets releases vitamin K. The tissue which is infected, blood platelets releases vitamin K to help to clot the blood. Clear? So blood clot happens in where? Infected tissue. Blood clot happens where? It happens in infected tissue. So suppose infected tissue, and what platelets will do? The platelets will do release vitamin K, that is blood platelets, infected tissue blood platelets, it will be equal to blood clot. Clear? It releases infected tissue releases thromboplastin. Which combines with the blood platelet. So it releases thromboplastin, so that it can combine with the blood platelets and clot the blood. Now thromboplastin releases a special hormone. Which is known as prothrombin. This prothrombin converts to thrombin. At first, this is the step-by-step process. Thromboplastin releases special hormone which is known as prothrombin, and it converts to thrombin by combining with thromboplastin. Which constitute calcium plus. It is the metal. So prothrombin converts into thrombin. It is prothrombin, BIN. Prothrombin. Next, this thrombin now releases fibrinogen. this thrombin now releases fibrinogen. This fibrinogen combines with the thrombin again. This fibrinogen combines with the thrombin again to convert to fibrin. This fibrin combines with the red blood corpuscle, that is RBC. This fibrin combines with the red blood corpuscle, that is RBC, to convert, and blood clot begins. Clear? So this is the step by step process. First infected tissue and blood platelet releases. So this is the blood clot. Infected tissue releases thromboplastin, which is the one type of hormone. Next thromboplastin releases prothrombin, which again combines with the thromboplastin and to convert thrombin. Thrombin releases fibrinogen, which is again combines with thrombin to convert into fibrin. Then fibrin combines with the RBC, that is red blood corpuscle, to happen blood clot, and now blood clot begins. So this is the step by step process about how blood clot happens. Now what are the blood groups? If question, what are the blood, we know that there are only 4 blood groups. One is A, one is AB and O. Clear? This is the 4 types of blood group. These are the 4 blood groups there. So this is all about related to blood. There are different sources or different functions of blood, and various topic we have discussed. In the next session we will only study the special topic, that is human transportation system, which includes heart, blood and some blood vessels, some related topic to blood vessels. Thank you.